The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com. Hello and welcome to the latest Wrestling with Johners. We are live, and this is episode 332. And of course, in the month of November 2023, 5 years of Wrestling with Johners. So this month celebrates 5 years, and we've had some tremendous guests. First of all, I want to introduce my latest guest. You can see him on the opposite side of the screen there. One of the hottest prospects coming out of South Wales in 2023. Remarkably, he's only 16 years old, but he's been in the business for about a year. But the Futurist, Leon Cage, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. Awesome to have you on the show. And I think I've probably said this to you before, but this has been in the works a little while because as soon as I knew you were in the Iron Cobra tournament several months ago, I thought, right, I'm keeping an eye on this lad. And if he gets to the final or anywhere near the final, I'm going to schedule an interview for the week after. And that's kind of what I did. And when I knew you were in the final, I reached out, right, can you do these dates in November? And it is finally happening. But we are going to take a full deep dive into the Futurist, Leon Cage, over the next hour and 15. Just a reminder, some of my recent guests, of course, we are celebrating 5 years of Wrestling with Johners, and it all kicked off with that man there, renowned UK referee. Well, in fact, he referees all over Europe. One of the finest referees in the UK, former NXT UK and World of Sports or WOS referee. But you will see him at OTT and Progress and all the big groups around the UK. Tom Scarborough, of course. Last week was my most recent live interview with Session Moth Martina, and although we had a few issues with Echo, the non-Echo version is out there on all audio platforms and YouTube, of course. So go and check that one out. That's an episode that I really enjoyed doing, and a big tick, of course. Also, this week we saw part one of my Legends Masterclass interview with Johnny Saint, episode 7 of my Legends Masterclass. Previous guests included Tony St. Clair, Marty Jones, Adrian Street, and many more, but Johnny Saints definitely tops that list, and part 2 of that will be dropping next week. Up and coming interviews. So next Monday, as a matter of fact, I've got the man with the black heart of gold, Nico Angelo, coming onto the show live on Wrestling with Johners. He's a man not only with a black heart of gold, but a man that doesn't do many interviews, and he'll be coming live onto the Wrestling with Johners podcast next Monday at 8. Next Thursday at 8. There we go. I got the anti-conformist Kira Chimera coming onto the show live with Wrestling with Johners, 8 o'clock. And then the following Monday, the 27th, Lana Rostin, the Queen of Mean, will be joining me live Monday, the 27th on Wrestling with Johners. But today, it's all about this guy here, Leon Cage. And like I say, it's a standout and a really bright, hopeful, a real prospect coming out of New Wave and the No Mercy training schools in South Wales, and we're going to take a deep dive. But so you've had a busy 2023, and I suppose you could really encapsulate it into the last 6 months, Leon. But a bit of an insight into how your 2023 has gone so far. In a nutshell, how would you sum up 2023 so far?
I mean, it's been tremendous. It's been class, very fun. I've really enjoyed myself, and that's the main part, really, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. We're going to break it all down because you've been blessed with so many awesome opportunities, so many awesome opponents, and of course, I'm going to bring this picture up here. You are the second annual No Mercy Wrestling Iron Cobra tournament winner for 2023, of course, and we will break all that down. But there you are with the sword, previously owned by a good friend of yours, Shane Hooker, of course, and we interviewed Shane earlier on in the year, but we will talk all about that. But so many incredible highlights, so many incredible matches. Let's start with this past weekend, because you had a bit of a loaded weekend, my friends. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it started with New Wave on the Friday, didn't it? And it was this one here, Leon Cage versus Danny Jones 3. Your third encounter in a New Wave ring with Danny Jones. At the St Andrew's Church and an incredible venue, really, really atmospheric. You're becoming a little bit of a regular there, and we will talk about that. But kicking the weekend off in style against Danny Jones, someone who's becoming a regular opponent of yours, certainly in a New Wave ring.
Well, I mean, Danny is another class. He's another class. I mean, what more is there to say? Like, he is one of the best wrestlers I've been in there with.
Really?
I've got to say, he is. A very hard-hitting style, but just technical, strong, hard-hitting. He's got it all.
Yeah.
He's very athletic as well.
I've heard a lot of people say all of that about Danny Jones, and I need to get him on the show because I've had Brendan. I need to get Danny on the show to kind of complete that Greedy Souls package. So I think he's very, very underrated for how experienced he is, what he offers as a performer, how excellent he is as a coach. And we'll talk all about the New Wave coaches in a minute. But he is really the total package. But I think he just flies under a lot of people's radars, but he should really be on everybody's radar.
Yeah, I agree. I very much agree.
Absolutely. Go on, please carry on.
He is the whole package, like you said. To be in the ring with him 3 times, it's been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure.
Yeah. And do you feel that the two of you told different stories in each of those 3 matches? Because obviously the first one, and we'll talk about this in more detail, but the first one was very much impromptu, very much unexpected. The second one was advertised, and this was kind of like more something you could prepare yourself for. And then this time round, Danny Jones versus Leon Cage 3, I'm guessing that you probably knew what to expect and maybe have grown a little bit from the previous 2.
I mean, the first 2 was just, I was in nerve and shock. That feeling I had going in, well, I didn't go into it. It was halfway through a match, went back through the curtain, got called out, went back through the curtain. Me and Dan went out there, and very, very good learning experience, to be honest. That match, I learned so much. And then the second time round, know what to expect. Still got the better of me. That time, it didn't quite. I didn't quite get him. Very, very good. Still learned a lot, and great to be in the ring with him. Third time, and now it's getting to the part where I know that it's like I can beat him story, and I'm getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
And we're starting to reverse each other's moves. We're starting to know each other so well. So all 3 experiences have been brilliant.
Absolutely. And I myself personally, I'm hoping for a 4th occasion so you can get that win. You've got to get that win. It's got to happen.
I'm hoping for a 4th, and I think I can do it.
Absolutely. And then Saturday, Danny Jones on a Friday, and Saturday, making your second appearance for Pro Wrestling Chaos against, let's be honest, one of the very best professional wrestlers in the UK, the English Lion, Eddie Ryan, for Pro Wrestling Chaos, your second outing with them. And they absolutely packed out their venue once again. But I mean, unfortunately, a lot of these pictures seem to see you kind of getting thrown around the ring by Eddie. But you do, like I say, I think that part of your style is that you do take a lot of punishment, but then when you have the opportunity, you do strike back. But tell us about getting the opportunity to be in there with somebody as experienced, as renowned as the English Lion, Eddie Ryan. I mean, it must have been a huge tick in your kind of wish list of wrestlers on your bucket list. But that's just kind of, to think you're only 16 and now you're wrestling Eddie Ryan that's been on the scene for 20 years. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is mind-blowing. I mean, I found out I think it was the Wednesday before the Saturday, and I was in disbelief. I was shocked. another opportunity come up, and that has got to be that's a memory. That match, that is a memory. Getting the win as well. Really, just something to the learning experience again. I'll always go back to it, but the learning experience was tremendous.
And that's something I wasn't aware of, and I was going to ask you, but you went over in that match.
Yes, I did.
I can see the smile on your face, and that's a smile on your face you're not going to wipe off for a very long time. But that's awesome, and I'm sure it was an incredible. You're obviously going to be in safe hands when you're in there with somebody like Eddie Ryan, but an incredible learning experience for sure. And he's going to be wanting a rematch with you now to get his win back.
I very much hope so.
Absolutely.
To be in the ring with him was a pleasure again. I'll say it again. The Friday, it was a pleasure to be in with Dan. Saturday, it was excellent.
Yeah.
Loved the day.
The weekend rolled on because Sunday, and we'll talk about the match you had in a minute, but it started off with you being in front of WWE legend Scotty Too Hotty, Scott Garland, a good friend of mine, good friend of the, and you were there at his seminar, weren't you, on the Sunday morning? I've got to ask you, how was that experience? Because obviously you train with some incredible coaches. You've been in the ring with some incredible wrestlers, but to have a WWE legend like Scotty Too Hotty, and I suppose it's not necessarily what he's going to teach you like in ring wise or moves wise, but it's kind of the knowledge that he can pass on to people like that at a seminar that really makes a difference, especially for somebody like you that's like a sponge and soaking it all up. But tell us how that experience was.
It was excellent. Loved it. Really enjoyed start to finish, and he was a lovely guy. So I mean, the knowledge you take away from it as well, brilliant.
Yeah. And was there anything in particular, any one thing that you can kind of remember as like a takeaway moment from any of the knowledge that he imparted on the attendees, the trainees at that seminar Sunday morning? Because like I say, it's not necessarily what he can teach you moves wise, but it's going to be that knowledge and that psychology, and I suppose how to handle yourself as a professional wrestler. But what in particular did you take away from that experience?
He was. I was very surprised by like him being short as well. Not in a bad way at all. Like
he's not towering, is he? He's not 6'5" or anything.
And a lot of the American wrestlers, especially like in the Attitude Era, were just giants.
Yeah,
and he was just saying you can do anything to make yourself stand out. You don't have to be that tall and stuff. So that is in itself, like, I'm not a massive person. I'm only like 5'8". So for him to say that as well, I can connect with that.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, he got over and still is over because of his larger than life personality and his technical prowess, and how he can perform with anybody. And like I say, he never had the flashiest of moves. You wouldn't necessarily call the worm the flashiest of move anyway, but did he show you how to do the worm in the seminar? No, he probably didn't. No. and then sticking with Sunday afternoon, of course, it was at the Caerphilly Leisure Centre in Caerphilly for No Mercy, the Good, the Bad and the Badass. I love that title. I absolutely loved saying it during all the backstage interviews and promos as well. But you're in the final of the 2023 Iron Cobra tournament. Before we talk about the match itself, tell us a bit about being involved in the earlier rounds, because I think you had a first round and a semi-final match, which took you through to the final. How were those experiences? And did you feel like you were kind of growing as the tournament went on?
Yeah. I mean, when it first started, I just thought this is a massive opportunity, really, to be in something like this. I feel honored in a way. I just, looking back to last year where I wasn't really a wrestler. So, and then looking at this year and places like No Mercy giving me opportunity, I can't thank them enough for it. The first round match, it was a match I very much enjoyed. It was a great experience being in front of, how do I say it, Penrith Hall. Very good
That's the one.
experience.
You said it better than I ever have done.
And then move into the semi-finals. Again, the matches got tougher and the matches quality were getting better. So I can see progression between the stages, and then going into the final now, I was on a massive high. So
yeah. Did you feel going into Sunday's match against the babyface killer, I think he calls himself, Alex Vaughn? And honestly, I'm blown away by that guy. I've seen him wrestle a few times, and he's quite intimidating, even as a fan.
yes.
And I know he's roughed me up once or twice doing backstage interviews with him. He's very, very intimidating, very scary, but a hell of a talent. And he strikes hard as well, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But did you feel like we had the best version of Leon Cage going into that match?
Yeah, 110%.
Firing on all cylinders.
After the Friday, after the Saturday, I was more than ready for Sunday.
Oh,
I was very excited.
Yeah.
And after the seminar as well, Alex, to be fair, he's a familiar face to wrestle now. I've wrestled him a few times across Wales and England. So for us to have that match as well, do you know what? We're gonna go out there, kill this match, and tear it up, really. And
you certainly did.
Thank you very much.
You certainly did. And for anybody watching live at home, I should have mentioned this earlier, but of course we are live across Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, and I think for the first time today, live on X. So if you're on X, go to the Wrestling with Jonas page and you'll find me and Leon Cage there with this live interview. So hopefully that works out okay, or we'll find out if it doesn't. But for anybody watching at home, if you want to get in touch with the show, if you want to send your questions in for the Futurist, Leon Cage, you can do. Ping them through to us using your chosen device, and we do our very best during the course of this interview to bring them up on screen and to answer all of your questions. Get in touch with the show now. And here are a few pictures from your match against Alex Vaughn on Sunday. That picture there is actually from friend of the show, Richie. All the rest and a lot of these pictures I'm going to flash up during the course of this interview are courtesy of Blue Radical. So thank you so much, Blue Radical, an awesome photographer in the South West and the South Wales scene, of course. But this just gives you a little bit of a glimpse of this match. What one takeaway from me for this match was how physical the match was. It really was. And I spoke earlier about how physical a wrestler Alex is. But not only did you take the punishment, you gave the punishment back. And I suppose in a finals match, the only way you're going to win is to give as good as you got.
Yeah.
Did you feel that it was a physical match being in there, and maybe you felt because Alex is such a fierce competitor, such a physical opponent, that you had to kind of turn it up a little bit in terms of the physicality yourself?
Yeah. You've always got to meet the... well, Alex is very aggressive. That's what I got to say. He's very aggressive. So you got to meet the aggression in a way, and how fierce he is. And he's a very good wrestler, I got to say. He is very, very good.
Yeah, he really is. And he's going places as well. And we'll talk about the South Wales scene a bit later on, because not only do they have this fantastic mix of experienced South Wales talent, but they've got this fantastic kind of grassroots and new crop of talent coming through the scene, which we will talk about. And of course, the other thing I want to talk about Sunday, and it probably showed in the pictures there, but it was sold out, wasn't it? The Leisure Centre in Caerphilly was absolutely sold out. Over 200 people. I think the show started nearly half an hour late because we still had people filing in through the doors half an hour after the first bell was meant to have rang, which was fantastic. We got out of the venue just in the nick of time before they needed the space back. But an incredible day. And I think that part of the success of that day was having all them people into that packed leisure centre, and that must have given all of the talent a real lift as they came through the curtain. But did you feel any additional pressure going out there knowing that it was a sold out show, or did that help you in a way?
That helped me. That helped me massively. I just got really excited. I was already pumped for it, but then you could see the people piling up. I think at one point I wanted to go to the toilet and I couldn't go to the toilet. There was so many people there, and I thought, this is the show. This is good.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point, I went to get a coffee for Scott Garland, and I came back and I couldn't find him. And he went off for a little walk, and I found him half an hour later trying to snake his way through the fans to get back into where all the talent was. So even he got lost because there were so many people out there. But it was fantastic to see. And of course, you were victorious. You got the 3 count, the second ever No Mercy Wrestling Iron Cobra tournament winner. How did it feel to have your hand raised, to have that 3 count, and to be crowned the Iron Cobra champion for 2023? What were the feelings inside you when that finally happened?
Well, every time I'm in a match, I feel honored to be there, because there's not many 16-year-olds that have the opportunity, and for people to give me an opportunity, I am blessed, really. I feel blessed to be in the match. When I win the match, it feels amazing. I get very excited as well. And then to win something from the match is just another feeling. Just, you feel like you're on top of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could tell that when you came backstage, you were absolutely elated. And we're going to talk about quite a few of your matches in 2023, and a lot of them you come out on the losing end. I think that the Iron Cobra tournament has been your kind of hottest streak of wins so far. So I mean, that's really kind of giving you the opportunity to grow as a talent and to experience some wins, and to finally have some something to show for it at the end of it as well.
Yeah, I'd agree. It is my flourish of wins there. I don't win often, but I'm not worried about it. The wins will come one day.
When we talk about the caliber of opponent very, very soon, we can understand why you're probably on the losing end more often than not. But I think this is the start of a hot streak, in my opinion, especially with that win over Eddie Ryan on the Saturday as well.
I hope so.
Let's just bring up a few more pictures. And there you are with the sword, with the Iron Cobra tournament sword and trophy. And of course, we had a chance to chat afterwards, my backstage setup. And like I say, during your promo, during your interview with me backstage after the match, you gave credit to Shane Hooker, who was last year's winner, the inaugural winner of the Iron Cobra tournament. You gave credit to him, and you almost kind of felt like you'd won it in his honor because he's currently out injured. He's been a good friend of yours. And I know that you've kind of grown through the business together. I think Shane's probably got maybe a year on you in terms of experience, but I think that you've been very, very close to one another. And I thought it was really, really classy of you to kind of pay homage to Shane and how he's kind of influenced you, and that you won it in his name, really.
Yeah. So, it's sort of like, I feel like, how do I say it? He's passed on the torch in a way with the Iron Cobra tournament. I feel like that sort of, it's coming down, and he is like a brother to me, really. We are so close, and I speak to him all the time. His class, and I just have to do it for him and for myself as well.
Yeah, 100%. And such a great guy. Had him on the show a few months back. Go and check that episode out if you're interested in my interview with Shane Hooker. But Shane is recovering from an injury, but I hear that he's making good progress and should be back hopefully for 2024, if not sooner.
Yeah, when he's back, he's going to kill it.
Absolutely. One other observation of mine is that after the match, I saw Scott Garland, Scotty Too Hotty, having a little bit of a word with yourself and Alex, giving you feedback over the match.
Yeah.
First of all, did he enjoy the match? Did he watch the match, and what did he think of it?
Well, surprisingly enough to me, he very much enjoyed it.
Well done.
It was a very good watch. Obviously, there was bits here and there that he said this could be improving and stuff, but he said, I've been doing this for years, and you boys are just two young lads. So for us to steal the show, he said in his own words. I was very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You absolutely did steal the show.
I hope so.
You absolutely did. And we'll talk about some of your kind of big matches very, very soon. But something I want to bring up, and something I'm sure has been a highlight of yours, was to be on the Impact stage when Impact were over in the UK a couple of weeks back for their UK tour, their mini tour. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've read this right, that you actually was part of the gut check challenge. Is that right? The gut check tryouts. Tell us a bit about, first of all, how did you get onto Impact's radar? How did you first get involved with them? How did you get the invite to go down there? Tell us a bit about that kind of initial contact.
Well, the invitation for the trial was just floating around, really, between like other wrestlers. And I had a few people, mostly coaches, sending it to me saying, sign up for it, give this a go. What's the worst that can happen? And I just, at first I thought, 16-year-old kid, will they think of me? And then I text Brendan saying, will they think I'm like up myself really for going for this when I'm 16? And he just told me, shut up and do it. So I listened to him.
Good advice.
Signed it, and just date time. Let's go. Hell of a weekend, really fun. Enjoyed it. Stayed for the show after as well. Brilliant, excellent.
Was this at the HMV Empire in Coventry by any chance?
Yes.
Give us a bit of an insight, give us a bit of a glimpse into the tryout itself and the gut check kind of experience, and kind of what did they get you doing? Was it drills, or was it matches, or what did you demonstrate to them about what Leon Cage was all about?
Well, we started off and you had to turn up very nice dressed, very pleasing on the eye, really. So we all turned up looking around. Then there was just talent coming in front of us, and we had to do like a register check, really. And they would call out the name, and you put your hand up, sitting there. There's loads of us sitting down. We're all waiting for it, just waiting for your name. And they'd call everyone's name, all good. And then we had to go get our ring gear on, as if we were wrestling for Impact.
Right.
So we're all getting our ring gear on, and we all sit down, and I think there was 80 of us just sat down in front of all of them, and it was very intimidating. But all of them were so nice, really. They got us in, we got moving, we got rolling, and we did like a heat drill. And yeah, it was pretty much just that. But they selected 10 people they wanted to see off matches. Unfortunately, I wasn't one of them. That was just falling on the day. Hopefully the next time I can get into the top 10, but it's something to work towards. So
yeah. But you have that incredible experience, don't you? I mean, like I say, 2023 has just been an awesome experience all rolled into one, but you have that to look back on, and you not only you have it as an experience within itself, but it's going to kind of give you so much to work off of. Did you get any feedback on what they were able to take from you?
Yeah, I got, funny enough, at one point I was talking to Rich Swan, and he was giving me feedback, and he told me for 16 to just stick at it, and one day hopefully I can get to where I want to go and where I can aim to be. So that's hopefully where I can go.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure it's going to happen. It's going to happen, considering how much you've achieved in your first year. But I want to talk about some of your matches, some of your highlights from 2023. And I think that the first one that really sticks out, and the one that really caught my eye, and I think caught a lot of people's eye, was this one here. Yourself versus Connor Mills. for New Wave, and this was back in May. So this was just after I first met you, and you were really starting to kind of find your feet. But I think you'd probably agree that this was the match that kind of put you on the scene, and you know, got a lot of people looking your way. Because let's be honest, Connor Mills, he over the last 2, 3, 4 years, he's really exploded, doing some tremendous things with companies like Rev Pro, Progress, you know, two of the biggest companies there. Working a lot for companies in South Wales, including New Wave, of course. And you had the opportunity to go up against Connor Mills, which must have been a thrill, maybe quite intimidating at the same time. And I've seen kind of clips of the match, and he's pretty heavy hitted with his kicks and his strikes. But like I say, that was one match that really caught my attention, because you kind of took all the punishment, and you took even more punishment, and then some more punishment, and then you came back, and I think you showed him and you surprised him. But what are your memories of that match in particular?
Well, I'll go on a bit of a tangent here.
Go on.
So the match got announced, and I was bricking it. I've never been so nervous. And I was like, I'm wrestling Connor Mills, and I have got no experience, and I don't know what moves I do, but I'm gonna go for it, give it my all. And to be in there with someone like Connor Mills, he's so good. He's so good. He's too good. He's too good. And well, I get to the venue. Here it comes, St. Andrew's Church. I get there. I turned up with Shane. We sit down, have food. Day's going great. Everyone else starts going off, doing their thing. And I get told by Brendan, oh yeah, Connor Mills, he's in a bit of traffic. He might be here when doors open. All right, that's fine. That's fine. We can deal with that. When doors open, we're on one before the main event. That's fine. Don't need to worry. Well, doors have opened. He's not here. Moving on, he's still not coming. Half time of the show in the interval, he's still not there. And then he turns up right at the end of us going into the first match on the second half. He turns up, and we're on like next, and we quickly just get everything sorted. No going through nothing. We just go straight out.
Wow.
And that experience, that in a way bad, but for the match quality, personally, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. And knowing like the story behind it, that's where I was like, Mills is too good. Because I'm just a kid and he led me through that. But I tried to do my bit. He did his bit very good. And the match, I love it. It's really up there with some of my favourite matches.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and like I say, that was definitely one of the matches that really kind of put you on my radar. Of course, Shane Hooker introduced you to me back at that No Mercy show in March, and I kept my eye on you ever since. But that one there really demonstrated to me how good you are in the ring, and kind of how bright your future is. And yeah, just a tremendous match. Go and check that one out if you have the opportunity to. Sticking with New Wave, Jay Joshua. Another South Wales boy, but Jay Joshua, a different animal, a different beast to Connor Mills. Once again, ferocious. He's an absolute beast, but he is a striker. He's heavy duty. He classes himself as one of the very best heavyweights in the UK, and I would agree with him all day long. Give us, like I say, a different type of opponent in Jay Joshua. Tell us about that one.
Again, I love the match. I'd love to do it again. I was very early on, and I didn't know myself. Well, I still don't really know who I am, but I know more of like who I am and who I am in the ring. But then I just thought, do you know what? Let's go kill it. And that match, he hits very hard. But I tried to hit him back harder. I don't think I did, but I give him a good old kick.
Yeah. And I mean, you do. I mean, part of your repertoire, part of your moveset is striking, isn't it? With the kicks,
Yeah.
and the uppercuts, and all of that. So, I mean, did you surprise him with any of your strikes? Because was there a point
I
in the
think
match
so.
where you were
I
matching
think
him?
so.
Yeah,
I think so.
and then of course you got the extra kind of arsenal of your kind of high flying repertoire as well. So not only can you've got your groundwork and your strikes, you've got your high flying. So I suppose you've got that in your back pocket to call upon if need be. But let's talk about the next one. And Shane Hooker. This took place in July the 14th, once again in a New Wave ring. And Shane, like I say, somebody you've come up through the business with, somebody you know very, very well, somebody that you've teamed with as well, getting the opportunity to work with him in a New Wave ring. By now, 3 or 4 matches in, especially in a New Wave ring, you're kind of starting to find your feet a little bit. But Shane Hooker, he is lightning quick, isn't he, all day long? And I suppose it's a bit like trying to juggle treacle when you're in there with Shane, because you got to keep the guy still to start off with. But how was that match? Was that your first time working Shane in that match?
We actually worked, I think it was 2 weeks before, on a No Mercy show in Neyland. The show wasn't filmed or nothing, so we went out there and we just thought, let's have a very good match. Let's just enjoy ourselves. And that match, I really enjoyed that one. And then going into the next one now, we just said, this is the opportunity now, and we're gonna go out there and show that 2 young lads can just enjoy ourselves and also kill ourselves and just go nuts. And that match is my favorite match now, still to date. That is my favorite match. The emotion in it, everything. I love it.
Yeah, and this is something that I picked up when I interviewed Shane. Was he is a very, very kind of passionate wrestler, isn't he? And he kind of wears his heart on his sleeve. And the same for yourself as well. But like I say, I would love to have been there for that one. I'm going to have to try and search that one out and watch that one. But let's talk about this one here next. And remarkably, the Rev Pro Undisputed British Cruiserweight Championship, held by Connor Mills, was on the line in this match. And there was yourself, Shane, Alex Vaughn versus Connor Mills. All 4 of you vying for a very prestigious Cruiserweight Championship, once again inside of a New Wave ring. An awesome opportunity, but more than anything, kind of the collection of talent in that ring and the action that was to be had. Like I say, a bit of a feast for the fans in attendance. What are your recollections of that match?
I spoke to a few people about it, and I think a lot of people thought that the 4 of us were quite agile and fast. And I think everyone was expecting this to be like dodge, duck, dive, this, that, this. But instead, it started off and it was just hitting as hard as we can. And I remember, what was it? 3 minutes into the match, my mouth was all bleeding all over the floor, and I was covered in it. And then everything was so physical, really. That was the word, physical. And that match is class. I love that match. I love every match, to be honest. I'm gonna keep repeating myself saying I love matches, but
absolutely. I mean, you clearly enjoy what you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. But and we got to talk briefly about this one here, because it didn't quite go as planned. But going into it, it was yourself and Shane going up against the Greedy Souls, and it kind of the one thing that kind of jumps into my head when I think of that match is the size difference. And of course, across the opposite side of the ring, you've got Bronco Brennan, you've got Danny Jones. 2 big boys, 2 experienced tag team wrestlers. The Greedy Souls are renowned throughout the UK. And yourself and Shane, obviously, the plucky baby faces going into the match. Before the match kind of ended quite abruptly, was there an intimidation factor staring at those 2 across the ring? What sort of interaction did you have with Brendan and Danny, like say, considering their size and strength advantage? how was them first few minutes of the match for you?
Well, going into the match, me and Shane thought, well, look, we're going to start tag teaming. Not many people do tag teams in the UK, and not many like flyer tag teams at all, really. So we thought, this is a good opportunity. Well, we'll tag team. And then the first tag team match is against like one of, if not the best tag team in the UK. So, and it's another factor is that they're our coaches in a way. They're like they train us. So it was already a connection there going into the match, and standards to live to. Then I think Shane had wrestled both of them before the match. And this is my first encounter with Brendan and Danny.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just look at them and you think, how do I put them on the floor? How do I do it?
They're big, they're powerful, yeah.
And unfortunately, the match didn't go as we wanted it to, how anyone wanted it to, really. But things happen, and simple as it was, Shane got hurt. And I mean, it's an emotional moment, really, when you see it, because there's no like fake to it.
Sure.
It's grim. It's grim. His arm was all over the shop, and just what was going through all of our heads, I think, was what's going on. And it all just sort of stopped. Music started playing, and then it moved on to my next match in New Wave.
There you go. You had your impromptu singles match. Your first encounter with Danny Jones out of the three that you've had. I think what that match does do, though, is you've got a ready-made story there, Leon, for a rematch. Yourself and Shane versus the Greedy Souls when Shane's back fully fit and competing
when Shane's
again.
Back, that match is going to go down.
It's got to happen, isn't it?
It's got to happen.
Absolutely. The next picture I have is your debut for Pro Wrestling Chaos. Triple threat, and it was yourself versus Splits McPins versus, I think that's Chuck Mambo. Tell us about that one there, because a couple of things there really that blows my mind is you debut for Pro Wrestling Chaos, and like I say, in the southwest of the UK, so outside of South Wales, so a big occasion, a big company to make your debut for. Then against Splits McPins, one of the very finest talents coming out of South Wales, pretty much anywhere in the UK, seen as a tag team wrestler, but I think Splits McPins is legitimately one of the finest singles talents in the UK also. And Chuck Mambo, everybody knows his credentials from around the UK, whether it be Rev Pro, Progress, you name it. And Leon Cage thrown in there as well. A lot of thoughts, a lot of emotions for yourself going into that. Tell us about how you were feeling ahead of that match.
Well, the match, I think the match before it was me versus Wild Bull. So, and I came off the back of that. Then I got told I was going to be on the Chaos show, Total Chaos. And I thought, whoa, this came out of nowhere. I am so excited and honored to be on Chaos. Because, I mean, that is a bucket list type thing, really. Especially at 16 years old, I'd never thought of being on there. So being on there, I remember coming out of the curtain to King's Oak, and I thought, wow. Like the video playing in the background, the ring in the middle, and it's like a theater in there. And I thought, like, this is like WrestleMania. I was like, this is professional wrestling now.
Yeah.
And the match, unbelievable. I really like it. Splits, hidden talent, and Chuck, he's a lovely guy. He is the nicest guy.
Yeah.
He brings a nice vibe to the room, really. And in the ring, he's also class. Very class. Love to have a match with him again. And same for his tag team partner, TK.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a match with him as well.
Wow, I mean, you set my mind racing now, and yourself and Shane versus TK and Chuck, that Sunshine Machine, that would be pretty awesome. But a fantastic experience, and like I say, you've got to go back to Pro Wrestling Chaos this past weekend and got your victory over Eddie Ryan, of course. Now, one match I'm sure you'll look back fondly on forever and a day has to be this one here. Yourself versus Mark Andrews, once again for No Mercy Wrestling, not too long ago, September, and just some stills from the match, and an incredible atmosphere, an incredible match, an incredible opportunity for yourself. And once again, a lot of these pictures are showing yourself going through the ringer. But like I say, I think you're that type of wrestler that just waits for your opportunity to strike back, and when you do, you strike back hard. But a South Wales legend, Mark Andrews, I believe he's a Cardiff boy as well. Tell us about that one, because I'm sure as a wrestling fan coming from South Wales, that must have been a dream match for you, possibly even before you got into the business, possibly even before your first match. And to finally have that match within your first full year, that's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Going into it, it's mental, really, because I can remember watching Mark on TV for WWE in the NXT UK title tournament and all the NXT UK shows. So I personally didn't think it was going to happen. Obviously, the match set wasn't for me, it was for Shane, but with Shane getting hurt, I stepped in, and that match is truly something. It is really, really, it was really fun, and Mark is lovely.
Yeah.
What a lovely man.
I'm curious, because when you're in there with the likes of Mark Andrews and Connor Mills and this top tier talent, and like I say, you're still finding your feet. You're a tremendous athlete and a tremendous talent. But like I say, I'm sure you would be the first to admit that there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah.
How is it for yourself to try and keep up with these guys that that are not necessarily going at an incredibly fast pace, but just keeping up with them experience-wise and move for move? Is that sometimes tricky?
I
If that
remember
made
going
sense at
into
all.
Yeah, it does make sense. It makes perfect sense. I remember going into the match with Connor Mills, and I spoke to Nico Angelo before it, and I said, how do I keep up with him? And I asked the same question you're asking, and he just said, be yourself, be you. No one else can be you, but you can be you.
Yeah.
So I just stick that advice now, and I just be myself. I play my part, and it happens.
Yeah, and you look say doing a tremendous job, and like I say, you've done yourself proud this year. I think you alluded to it just a moment ago, but another match of yours, this time Pro Wrestling Carnage, the awesome South Wales promotion, doing some wonderful things, certainly a company on the rise. And there was yourself versus Wild Boar, and once again a different dynamic. Once again, Wild Boar, lightning quick, super ferocious. He comes out of nowhere, but he very, very powerful, could do pretty much anything in the ring. So once again, a different dynamic, different type of opponents. Tons of experience as well, former WWE NXT UK, and I believe also a trainer at New Wave Academy. How was that match? Because once again, like I say, different to any of your previous opponents, but a massive learning opportunity. Tell us about it.
It was awesome. It was awesome. When I found out I was having the match, I was told this is what Ball wanted. He wanted this match. So the pressure was on for it. And the match again is one of the highlights of the year. And
Yeah.
he is like, again, my coach. So being in there with my coach is added pressure in a way. But then it also takes some pressure off because, I'm thinking, I know this guy inside out. So, yeah, the match is amazing. Really amazing. And I can't give him enough credit. He is the best in the UK, really.
Yeah.
He is,
Yeah.
in Europe, one of the best. He is up there. He's a special talent, really. There's not many like him.
100%. We've had a ton of questions come through. I am going to go through them very, very soon and read some of them out. So if you have sent in questions, thank you. Keep sending them in, and I will get to them very, very soon. But one more match I want to talk about, and you mentioned about breaking out in England. We mentioned Pro Wrestling Chaos, but there's also this company here, IWN UK, who relaunched not long ago, probably only September. And you've been part of their tournament to crown the very first or the next Z Force Championship. And you had to go through a qualifying match against Alex Vaughn. We mentioned him earlier. You got through that qualifying match, and there is the kind of the final match to crown the Z Force champion coming up very, very soon. But IWN UK, they've been around for a while. They've got a bit of prestige and a bit of history behind them. How did you get onto their radar? How did they reach out to you? And how did you get part of that qualifying tournament to be part of the Z Force Championship match later on this month?
It was through Shane, really.
Right.
He just said, I've got a message through. He's asked me for someone else. And the next minute I had the owner of IWN texted me, and I had the date. A long drive up to Hastings on the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Really good experience. Really fun. Really enjoyed. And I can't wait
getting
to
the opportunity to be in front of different fans as well, getting the opportunity to be in front of different fans, a different crowd, a different vibe. And I suppose a lot of them were fairly new to you as well. So an opportunity for you to prove yourself in front of a different audience.
Yeah, I agree. Being up there, there was loads of things going through my head, but all I could think of is how much of a pleasure it was being there, because I feel like I don't want to be like the 16-year-old kid on the show. I want to make a mark, and I felt like I have to do it, and I can't wait to be back up there now on the 24th and being in the match to crown the new Z Force champion with you mentioned Jay Joshua earlier, with Jay Joshua, Scotty Rourke, and Levi Moore. So it's my first time for two of those guys. I can't wait for that match.
Yeah,
it's gonna be something special.
And that takes place a couple of Fridays' time, Friday the 24th. In fact, next Friday, a week today. So that's going to be an awesome opportunity for you, an awesome match. But let's go to some questions. And first of all, let's have a little look here. We've got a Laura asking, Leon, who's been your toughest opponent so far? So thank you, Laura, for watching us live via YouTube. Very much appreciated. Like I said, we've spoken about some really top talent, some fantastic matches that you've had in the last 6 months, or certainly in 2023. Any of them stand out as being particularly tough for any one reason or another?
There's a lot. So for like striking ability, I'd say probably like Wild Boar or Connor Mills. But then for like the high flying ability, then you have like Mark Andrews and Shane. So yeah, there's a few, but I'd say they're the main four. I think. Connor Mills, Wild Boar, Mark Andrews, Shane Hooker.
Brilliant. And let's have a quick look. We've got The future Let's Play. Are you looking forward to singles matches against NWW people like James Ellis, Kurt Atlas, Chris Bronson, and Aluna? So New Wave Wrestling, of course, and that's just some of the extraordinary talent that wrestle underneath the New Wave Wrestling banner, and they train alongside yourself when you're down there. But I don't know if you've worked any of these before, possibly not, but matches you'd like to have in the future?
Yeah, all of them. James Ellis, he's always been someone I'm quite close to, and I've always known him from past experiences with other places. And he's a heart of gold, but he's also in the ring, you know. He cheats and all of that. And our styles would mesh perfectly. And he is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and
Truly
he's another one that's really branched out, hasn't he, and really doing well all over the country.
He's going to be one of the best one day. Going to be one of the best.
For sure.
Kurt Atlas again, same thing. He's growing and growing and growing. I can't wait to have a singles match with him. That'd be excellent. And then Chris Bronson, again, another person fascinating to watch. All of them are. You can sit there for hours watching all four of these. And Aluna. I've never actually had a match with a woman, like a mixed match. Yeah. So that'd be very interesting how it would go down.
Out of all them names, that's the opponent I want to see you go up against Aluna, because she's just killing it on the UK scene, killing it absolutely everywhere she's going. Got so much fight and so much fire and spirit and passion about her. Just absolutely love watching her wrestle. Legitimately my favorite wrestlers on the UK scene, and that would be a good match, Leon Cage versus Aluna for sure. Let's have a quick look. We've got Richie Horrigan watching us live via YouTube. What did you take away from your match against Mike Hitchman, Wild Boar? Obviously he's one of your coaches, a lightning quick, fierce competitor. Tremendous match you had with him for Pro Wrestling Carnage. Any particular takeaways from that match in your time in the ring with Wild Boar?
So many. I learned so much. Like, I couldn't tell you everything because I'd be here for hours. But the amount of stuff I've learned of him is years of experience. He is, like I said, he is truly the best. And I learned how hard he hits. And also, he's such a nice guy. But also, such a nice guy in training. But once it gets
nice guy outside of the ring, not inside of the ring.
In the ring, fast, fierce, all of it, aggressive,
and he hits super hard.
Yeah.
Let's jump to another one. This was just going to come up Facebook user, but. Hi both. My daughter is Starla. He's 14 and trains at New Wave Academy and loves going. She's determined to become a superstar. Have you any advice you can give her who is watching you right now? Thanks. I'll try and figure out who sent that, but thank you for sending that question. Any advice for 14-year-old Starla?
I don't know if I can give advice, but from what I've learned from other people, just stick at it. That's what I get told, and stick at it. It truly is just one of those things. There's always going to be a time they'll come around. Thankfully enough now I'm getting opportunities, but I mean, opportunities will come, and they always will. If something gets shut down, the opportunity will come back around, and just stick at it. And trust your trainers. That's what I do. Trust your coaches.
Yeah, some good advice. You said you're not qualified to give advice. You gave some great advice there. What are you on about? Some great advice. We have got more questions. We will bring them up. We will read them during the course of this interview. I'm curious to know about your wrestling fandom and kind of how were you first introduced to professional wrestling as a fan? What kind of caught your eye, and how did it make an impact in your life?
Well, my first memory of wrestling is Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. and I remember crying that Shawn Michaels didn't win. And ever since then, it's never left. It's always been there. It's always I used to tell my parents when I was younger that I was going to grow up, I was going to live in Texas, and I was going to be a professional wrestler. And it was just, oh yeah, whatever. And then I started saying, I want to start wrestling training. I want to be a wrestler. And it's always stuck. And yeah, going through phases, like lots of other people, they go through phases of like, oh, yeah, but wrestling's not cool anymore. It was cool when I was younger, but I never ever. It always will be cool.
Yeah,
it always has been.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you become more of a fan of pro wrestling since being involved in the sport yourself? I know from having worked backstage at many shows, many promotions over the last couple of years, I've grown to appreciate the sport and the talent and what's involved a hell of a lot more from seeing the talent backstage and watching them prepare for their matches. But how about yourself? Has it given you a greater appreciation, and has it made you more of a fan?
I feel like I appreciate more wrestlers.
Yeah.
Like some of the wrestlers I never thought like, whoa, he really is that good. Like I'm not talking like smaller stage now, like bigger.
Yeah.
Like Zack Sabre Jr. was always one that I'd see and be like, yeah, but he just does the same thing. And now I sit there and I go, Zack Sabre Jr. is something else.
You get it now, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. I understand it more.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I appreciate more things and more wrestlers. I can't say I've become a bigger fan because I was already like the biggest fan, but yeah, I have become. I watch it my whole life. I've watched it literally every day. I watch wrestling, but now being on social media and everything, I see more of it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And would I be right in thinking that Shawn Michaels, based on what you said about WrestleMania 25, is possibly a big hero of yours, or one of your favorite performers ever? One of your biggest heroes in the sport?
It's between him and AJ Styles.
Right. Okay.
So they're the two, and there's also like newer guys, like, well, not newer, but guys that I'm more familiar with now,
Sure.
like Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, people like that. But growing up, AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels were the two.
Yeah. Tell us about getting into the business kind of for the first time, which I'm assuming was probably only a year or two ago when you first stepped through those doors. What was it that inspired you to want to search out a training school and kind of, emulate your heroes from the TV? Was it a conscious decision? Was it something you always wanted to do?
It was something I've always wanted to do. I just grew up saying I'm going to be a professional wrestler, and it is like my dream to be a professional wrestler and to get to it's always every kid's dream, but to get to WrestleMania, like that's the dream. Get to the biggest stage of wrestling and say that you are the best wrestler in the world.
Yeah,
just aiming very high, but it's got to be done.
And that's the best way, isn't it, to have these dreams? And like say, if you shoot for the stars, you're gonna get there, aren't you? But you've got to have high ambitions. Tell us a bit about two training schools in particular, and we've spoken a little bit about them already. But No Mercy Wrestling with Bevan and the fantastic team there, and New Wave Academy with Brendan White, Danny Jones, Nico Angelo, Danny Luna, and Wild Boar. Probably missed one or two there, but how did you kind of get involved with those two in particular? How did those two training schools come into your life, and how have they affected your career? Starting with No Mercy.
My first encounter with No Mercy was a Mark Andrews seminar, funnily enough. And I just dropped him a message saying, I've had a bit of experience with wrestling, not much, but can I please sign up for the seminar and take a place? Or am I too young? Because at the time it was an 18 plus. And they said, and I was only 15. And they said, well, we're gonna have to ask Mark and see what he says, but we're happy this end as long as you sign paperwork and everything. Mark comes back all happy, and there was the get-go, straight in, do the seminar, and that's actually the first day I met Shane as well, and all the other boys in No Mercy. It's a very, very memorable day.
Yeah.
Then being with No Mercy, I learned a lot, and yeah, I started becoming myself more. Like, yeah, that's how I can describe it. Being myself more.
Yeah. Were they the kind of the first training school that really gave you a decent foundation in the principles of professional wrestling? They were kind of like the first ones that really opened your eyes up to what pro wrestling is all about.
They really opened everything up to being like, this is the Welsh scene and this is what it's all about. So that's where I'd say. And then going further on then to New Wave.
Yeah.
Talking about James Ellis, I will bring up here. So I messaged him saying, look, I know you train in New Wave. I've known you for a while. Like, is there any way I can get in to start training there, get more experience? And he had a chat with Brendan White, and it came back that I had to do like this trial thing to see if I had anything really there or how much will need to be taught. And I did the trial, all good, and it was go from there. Then I think it was a month or 2 months later, the match with Connor Mills happened.
That quick?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy, isn't it?
But
that's crazy.
I can only thank both of them, the places, New Wave and No Mercy, for opportunities and everything. Like, I don't know where I'd be without them. The both of them. They've helped me in massive ways.
Yeah.
And they still do. So training every week. It is, both the places give me so much. So I can only thank them so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a bit about your nickname, the Futurist. How did that come about? Did somebody give you that nickname, that moniker, or was it something you came up with yourself? And what does that moniker nickname mean to you in particular?
Well, a lot of people say like, oh, you're 16, you have a bright future, and I get called a prodigy quite a lot and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I was just talking to my parents, and I said, well, I'm a professional wrestler. I need a nickname. I can't just be this boring old 16-year-old boy. I need something going. And they said, well, what do you want? What's something you want? I said, I want something future related because I'm one of the youngest doing it. Well, hope to be one of the youngest doing it. And it all started going, and I was thinking, future, what can I call myself? And then I think it was my mother who said, what about Futurist? And I said, and it just sort of, there it was, and I turned.
Clicked. Yeah.
That's the one. And ever since then, it's stuck. And I tell people, like, announcers, what do you want to be announced as? The Futurist. And they're like, oh, I like that. So it's something that's hopefully going to stick for a while until I'm old enough that I'll have to change it, which should be a few years down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a cool name. It's different. It certainly stands out. And it looks great on a t-shirt as well. We'll talk more about your t-shirt a bit later on. We did have a question that came through a bit earlier on about some of your moves. What's your favorite move, Leon? This is from Ashley, watching us live via YouTube. So thank you, Ashley. Really appreciate it. Keep sending your questions in. But my next question was going to be about your moves, because I've seen a ton of your matches on YouTube. A lot of your matches are available to watch on YouTube. Just type in, search Leon Cage, of course. A lot of the matches we've spoken about are available on YouTube. But we mentioned about your strikes and your kicks, absolutely devastating. You've got, I think, some pretty cool European uppercuts. I think you probably do one similar to Cesaro, where you kind of slingshot yourself off the ropes and come back with the European uppercut. But you also do this move like a spinning tiger driver as well. You've got you've got your kind of rolling senton as well. And I think what is your finisher is the spinning corkscrew cutter. So you've got a whole variety of really, really cool moves and quite impactful moves. But to answer Ashley's question, tell us a bit about your move set, and do you have a favorite move?
A lot of my striking abilities come from a karate background, where I'm a second dan black belt in karate.
No way. So, congrats, my friend. That's really awesome.
When I was younger, I'd done karate, and all my strikes and stuff, I said, do you know what, I want to, obviously growing up with AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels who've done strikes, I said, I want to do lots of strikes too. So I made some strikes. I did some strikes. Then I thought, do you know what else do I like? And I also like flying ability. So it was a long practice. I was doing 450s, and I thought, do you know what? There are a few people I can think of that do 450s, especially around the area. So I said, I want to change it up. And I learned how to do, one day I just went up there on the top rope. It was me and Shane down in training early with the crash mat in the ring. And they said, right, I'm going to do a shooting star. So I started doing the shooting star. Now I've started doing that in matches now. What else then? The spinning sit out shoulder tiger driver thing.
Yeah.
I come up with a name for that called the Uncaged. That's actually like my current finisher, along with the shooting star. Only 2 people have kicked out of the shooting star, and that is Shane in our match at New Wave and Alex in the Fatal 4-Way for the Rev Pro British Undisputed Cruiserweight Champion. That was a mouthful.
Yes.
Then the spinning finish, double underhook to the shoulder, that has never been kicked out of yet. And yeah, that's probably like my favorite move because I came up with it. But some of my favorite moves, Osprey Stormbreaker, that's the inspiration for my move, the finisher. That's where that's one of my favorite moves. So that's where the inspiration came from.
And what about the corkscrew cutter? Because that's a move that you like to hit very frequently in all of your matches. It looks amazing, like a lot of your moves that you've just described. The corkscrew cutter, or however you describe it, or however you name it, looks amazing. I think that there was a clip from a match from March last year, and I think it may have been a Rumble, and you hit it on Shane Hooker, and then you eliminate him, and then you hit it on Dale Johnson, and the way Dale Johnson took it was just absolutely mind-blowing. He spiked himself off of that move, but tell us a bit about that move, because it looks damn sweet.
It was just one of those things that I sort of one day went to the middle rope and thought, what can I do? And I did a weird spin, and I thought, I can do a cutter off this. So I jumped up, I did a twist, and I started taking the bump. And I thought, right, let's get someone to take this. And I think it was Shane. And I said, Shane, come take this. And then I started doing it, and he's
like your crash test dummy, isn't he?
Yeah. And it just stuck. And there's been times where I'm like, yeah, we're going to do that move. And that was originally like what I wanted for a finisher, but then that transition down. So that's like one of my big moves that I hit. Maybe a finisher now and again. Always can be. And then like coming up with the other moves that they start, like the shooting stars, just that one extra step. Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah. The other thing I want to talk about is your kind of babyface persona, the way you are in the ring. And I mentioned earlier that quite often you take a lot of punishment as a babyface from your opponent, whoever it might be. You take more punishment, and then you strike back. You have this babyface fire, this babyface passion, and then just out of nowhere, you just absolutely kill it with all of your offense and all of your striking maneuvers. But I think that's something that you've got very much in common to Shane, is this kind of like babyface persona that fights from underneath. Is that something that you've kind of realized about yourself and the matches you've had so far?
It's something that just happens, to be honest. You do the matches and you're taking a lot of punishment, and then it gets to a point where in your mind you're just thinking, do you know what, I'm getting annoyed of getting hit. So when you hit someone back, then you're hitting them back so much harder than what you would have without it.
Yeah.
It just sort of becomes that sort of thing.
Yeah. But I also think it tells a great story as well. I think that's how a lot of matches go, is that the babyface obviously takes a lot of punishment and then comes back, has that babyface fire, and looks like gets the crowd underneath them. But not that I would know. I've never worked in a wrestling ring at all. We did have a match about your babyface persona. Let me just see if I can find it. Here we go, Richie again. And it's not necessarily about a babyface persona, but if you ever turned heel, Leon, what vision of Leon Cage would we get? So what version of Leon Cage would we get? So have you ever considered being a heel sometime in the future? Is there this dark side to the futurist Leon Cage that we haven't seen yet?
There's definitely a dark side. There's definitely there. And I feel like it would be who I am now with the moves, and that I'd have some sort of reason behind me, and I'd probably be very annoyed, and then I'd probably get to a point where I'd be very scared in the ring as the bad guy, and I'd probably end up being a bit of a chicken and then start cheating. But we'll have to wait and see until a time that I am in the situation, and then how I act, then I'd build off, and then I'd create a new version of me.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, the best heels come from the best baby faces. So considering how good you are as a baby face, I'm sure you'll make a pretty brilliant heel. But don't hang around with James Ellis too much. That's all I can say, because if you hang around with him, you pick up bad habits and you'll be a heel before you know it. Just don't hang around with the brilliance too much, because he will get you under his wing. How do you feel? We've spoken about all of the fantastic opportunities and opponents and matches you've had. This really kick-started when you went in there with Connor Mills back in May, I think it was now. But how do you feel in your own heart of hearts you've kind of grown or progressed as a performer, as a wrestler, as a talent, as this overall thing in that time between then and now? Tell us about the progression.
I feel like as a person, again, like I mentioned earlier, I am progressing and I'm being more myself. And I'm coming along more in the ring as well. The matches are getting longer and I got to do more things to add. So I'm starting to try and add personality in a bit as well, a bit of emotion. So I can see the progression from start to finish now massively. But also if you watch the matches, you might not be able to see massive, like A to Z difference, but
Yeah.
personally, and knowing what I've learned, I feel like I can see that difference.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I want to bring up a picture of yourself and Shane again. There you are, as possibly after the match you had against one another
Straight
for
after.
New Wave a few months ago. And of course, before you get injured, you were the team Rising Tide, and of course, available for bookings in 2024. And hopefully, Shane will be back fighting. Will be out there performing as Rising Tide very, very soon. But tell us a little bit about teaming with Shane, being that tag team. We know you mostly as a singles performer. I have seen some clips from 1 or 2 matches of the two of you as Rising Tide, and one clip in particular is where I think you come off of one corner with a shooting star press. He comes off of the opposite corner with a 450, I think it was.
Yeah.
And like I say, your opponent's just laid prone in the middle of the ring, taking these badass finishers. But I mean, it's quite an exciting future, isn't it? Especially when Shane gets back in the ring and we've got Rising Tide performing again as a duo. Something you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Next year, it's gonna be back in the ring, and we're gonna tear it up. It's gonna be a great year, and after the injury, everything's gonna be better than what it is at the minute, and it's great at the minute, and it was great beforehand. But next year now we need to reach out to the next level and be the tag team we wanted to be. But then the injury put us on hold. But when we come back, it'll be all go out and go for it.
Firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Bigger and better and badder than ever before. One more question I've got for you, and I think I touched on this earlier on, but the South Wales scene, and it's always been a red hot scene, hasn't it? It's always been stacked, and it's kind of, gave birth to fantastic talents like Mike Hitchman, like Mark Andrews, Flash Morgan, Eddie Dennis, and all these big names that then got signed and went to WWE. While they were away, there was this kind of like undercurrent of newer stars coming through that have really started to make a name for themselves over the last couple of years. And now you've got the best of both worlds with these big names coming back from WWE, and you've got the newer talent, the new crop, the likes of the Jay Joshua's, the James Ellis's, the Shane Hookers, yourself, and so many more. But it's a real thriving scene again now. And I personally think it's stronger than it ever has done, because you've got the old guard, you've got the new crop, and they're kind of colliding in the middle. What's your take on the scene in Wales and South Wales in particular, and where you feel it is at the moment?
I agree. I completely agree with you. I think it is the strongest and best it's ever been. And it's hitting all the right places at the minute. It's only going to get better. That's the best part. There's only up from here, with places like New Wave and No Mercy taking the forefront and having the links to places like Attack Pro Wrestling and Chaos. Then it's leveling up every month, every year. So if you look into the next 5 years, how much better is it going to get in that time? It's going to be unbelievable.
It's exciting, isn't it? Very exciting.
Yeah.
I can't quite make out if that's your dogs, but if you can hear whooping in the background, it's all right. This is a pet-friendly show. This is what we do.
It's my dog downstairs.
Let's jump to some more questions, and we've got YouTube. Via YouTube, we've got Melanzy. And where would you like to take your career? So, like I say, you're only 16. You're going to be 17 at the beginning of next year. Like I say, where do you see not just 2024, but the next 2 or 3 years going for you? Obviously, we mentioned about the team you've got with Shane, and you want to take that places, and are very, very exciting, I'm sure. But do you kind of have any goals or any visions in your mind as far as where you want to take your career next?
I'd like to get to the next level again, in my eyes. Like, I'm starting to get very like not bigging myself up. I'm not a type of person, but I'm experiencing in Wales now, and in some places in England, but there's still the places like Riot Cabaret and Progress, Rev Pro, and they're massive goals for me to get on to soon. Not necessarily like soon, but the next year, 2 years, that would be a massive goal for me to get on to them sort of places, because then they're the next stage to then getting on. Like Rev Pro have the massive links to New Japan, and Wrestling Japan would be somewhere I'd love to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then from there, you make a name for yourself, you come back. Then you got the other opportunities. So it all gets better there. And it's just like a mountain, really, I feel.
Yeah.
Where it keeps climbing. It keeps on climbing. And eventually you reach that peak point.
Yeah. Let me ask you, and this is pretty much my final question, is and thanks to everybody that's been sending in questions. Really, really appreciate it. Fantastic job at sending the questions today. But have you got any dream opponents, certainly on the UK scene, that you haven't had a chance to work with yet, that you'd really like to, amongst whoever's South Wales, UK, any dream opponents for you?
One that I still haven't had a match with yet, and he's one of my coaches, is Nico Angelo.
I knew you were going to say Nico. Yes, he was on my list for you also. That'd be an awesome match.
Want a match with him. I feel like the styles would collide very well.
Yeah.
Then you have more people. Like, then for years' time, people like Robbie X, who are the high-flying top tier. So having matches with someone like that. And Sunshine Machine with me and Shane, that's a big one, especially having the triple threat at Chaos with Chuck in.
Yeah, and like I say, who knows, a few years down the line, I mean, your style, and I think you said it earlier, but your style is very reminiscent of Will Ospreay, and that would be an awesome match, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That's a dream.
That's the top one.
Yeah,
that's top of the mountain. I'm sure you'll get there. But before we let you go, and I'm going to bring up the ticker along the bottom of the screen, but before we let you go, tell us where we can find you on social media. If any of my followers, listeners, viewers want to reach out to you, learn more about Leon Cage, maybe want to see some of your matches or just reach out and say hi, where can they do so?
I am on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook with just Leon Cage, on Instagram with an _. And you can find me on YouTube as well. I put up MVs on there. So I'm uploading on social media all the time.
Yeah. There we go. And you've got some merch as well, and it's scrolling along the bottom of the screen, leoncage.bigcartel.com. And to bring up a picture, there's your sweet t-shirt. So I told you the Futurist looks good on a t-shirt. It certainly does. Tell us a bit about the shirt and where we can get that.
At the minute, it's just on the Big Cartel, but I will be bringing them to shows very soon. I think at the next New Wave show, I will have them from there on. So they're all good to go.
Absolutely. And just a quick reminder from me, my up-and-coming live guests, to cap off what has been a tremendous month of interviews for Wrestling with John, as of course our celebratory 5th anniversary in the month of November. Nico Angelo is my next guest next Monday. One of Leon's coaches as well at New Wave. And that's going to be a tremendous interview, an exclusive interview with Nico Angelo there. Next week also, Kira Chimera is coming on the show next Thursday. Check that one out the following Monday to cap off what has been a tremendous month of interviews for Wrestling with John. The Queen of Mean, former Progress Women's Champion, of course, Lana Austin, will be coming onto the show. Bit of an exclusive there. And of course, part 1 of my Legends Masterclass interview with Johnny Saint is already out. Part 2 will be dropping soon. But Leon, it's been tremendous speaking to you for the last hour and a half. It's been awesome, kind of taking a bit of a deep dive into what's your short journey so far But it's been an absolutely amazing 12 months, and certainly 2023 has been an incredible year. So many awesome opportunities, so many fantastic matches, so many great opponents as well. But if you've got any final words to sign us off, any final words from the futurist Leon Cage, what would you like to say to any fans, friends, family members, people that supported you over the years, or any viewers or listeners of Wrestling with Johners? But the floor is yours, my friend.
Just thank you for watching, really, and I hope to see you all around.
There we go, at the shows. But Leon Cage, you've been an awesome guest, episode 332, and we'll see you at the shows, my friend. Thank you very much.
Ta.